Away from Nigeria now, thousands of Malians took to the streets of the capital Bamako over the weekend in protest against a plan by the government to revise the constitution. But the government has now postponed the July the 9th vote. This didn't deter protesters from registering their voices against the move. Joining us now to give some more perspective on the issue, African Affairs analyst Bala Zakka is right here with us in the studio. Thank you very much for joining us once again.
Thank you.
Top of the minds of these protesters is the issue of security, that the presidency, or Ibrahim Boubacar Keita as president, hasn't been able to ensure the safety of all Malians, hence their refusal of this referendum. How do you bear their grievances?
Well, I think at this time, the protest looks credible. The protest is justifiable, considering the fragility of peace within Mali. And the reason why people are protesting is just because, I mean, there are other priorities. Like you said, you have political issues, you have economic issues, you have social issues. And when you have issues like this confronting a country, and the political leaders are trying to talk about empowering the president in situations like this, you know, to give him more powers, there is likely need for people to come out and point out or make clear their suspicions.
Yeah, go ahead.
The reason why this is necessary is because when you say you want to do something about referendum, in this case, you know, to give almost, or to cede almost 33% of the appointment of senators to the president, that looks like a suspect. Then where is constitutional democracy there? And when you talk about sovereignty, it's very clear. I mean, at the end of the day, you are emasculating the sovereignty of the people. And fundamentally, within the continent of Africa, and probably across the world, when you see trends like this, and knowing that most presidents or most political leaders demonstrate what we call executive lawlessness. It simply means if you allow them to get this kind of power, that lawlessness will become glaring. They are likely to show a leadership of exclusion, a leadership of vengeance, and a total emasculation on the rule of law. And that's not good for constitutional democracy.
All right. Now one of the analysts is making reference to Section 118 of the Malian Constitution, which says that the Constitution shouldn't be touched unless the territorial integrity of the country is threatened. In this case, the territorial integrity of the Malian people isn't, threatened.
Correct.
Now, it therefore goes to justify the reason that the people are out in the street, doesn't it?
Correct. I mean, the people, like we said, are in this case fundamentally correct, you know, and they are right. They have every right to protest. And from what we've seen, they have not been violent. You know, what we were expecting has been this case where after the demonstration or after the affront by the Tuaregs in the northern part of the country and the infiltration of the country by jihadists, what we were expecting when this president was getting all the support, we thought there was going to be a kind of uniform approach of confronting the jihadists. In fact, the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, one of the reasons why he flew into Africa and to make sure he has a meeting with the G5 Sahel, basically countries within the southern Sahara, you know, was to make sure they have a collective approach. And also for the Malians to understand that the Western world is with them in fighting the jihadists. Because extremism is transnational. Extremism is transcontinental.
Indeed.
It's even a global thing. So we were expecting the president to actually focus on that.
And talking about the Macron visit, apologies please, it also appears that the protest was well timed, you know, to coincide at the time with the time when the French president will be visiting Mali now to further get more support for the continuing fight against extremism.
Correct. Because, I mean, the expected referendum is supposed to be on the 9th of July. And Macron arrived on the 2nd. And if you look at the countries, I mean, the countries are basically Burkina Faso, Chad, Mali, Mauritania, and Niger. So Mali is also a part of the peace equation. So it is expected that, I mean, and like we said, Western powers will also show that this monster called extremism that is ravaging the entire world is tamed. And when you talk about extremism here or terrorism, we're experiencing religious terrorism, we're experiencing political terrorism, we're even experiencing narco-terrorism. But at that flank of the African continent, we are seeing more of extremism in terms of probably religious divide and sectarian divide. So the visit is timely, the protest so far has been orderly, and is in the right direction.
Right, Bala Zakka, African Affairs Analyst, so much thank you very much indeed for coming to share your thoughts with us.
Thank you.